Have you ever looked at your husband across the breakfast table, the man you've loved for decades, and felt a pang of frustration you couldn't quite explain? Maybe it's not that you don't love him anymore, but something's shifted, something practical, something real. Why do so many women, as they get older, start to feel this way about the man they vowed to spend their life with? I'm here to share a truth that might surprise you. It's not about falling out of love or some dramatic betrayal. The reason is far more practical, and it's rooted in the everyday moments that pile up over years. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why this happens and, more importantly, how to turn it around. I promise you'll walk away with insights that could change the way you see your marriage forever. Partner, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I encourage you to click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay updated on all our latest content. Your support means the world to me, and if you find value in this video, please give it a thumbs up to help spread this message. I'm eager to hear your thoughts on today's topic. If you enjoyed the content, please comment number 1 below. If it doesn't resonate with you, leave a 0. Your feedback is so important, it helps me create videos that truly speak to your heart. Now, let's dive in. Let me take you back to a story about a woman named Evelyn, someone I met years ago at a community knitting group. Evelyn was 78, with silver hair that glowed under the sunlight and a laugh that could warm a room. She'd been married to her husband, Tom, for 52 years. To everyone else, they seemed like the perfect couple, high school sweethearts who'd raised 3 kids, built a cozy home, and still held hands at church. But one afternoon, over a cup of chamomile tea, Evelyn confessed something that broke my heart. She said, "I love Tom, I always will. But sometimes, I look at him and feel irritated. Not because of anything big, but because of all the little things that have piled up over the years. It's like I'm carrying a weight I didn't even know I picked up." Evelyn's story isn't unique. I've heard it from so many women over the years, women in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond. Women who've spent decades loving their husbands, raising families, and building lives together, only to find themselves feeling distant, frustrated, or even resentful as they age. And here's the thing, it's not because these women are ungrateful or because their husbands are terrible people. The reason is practical, and it's something we can all relate to if we look closely at our own relationships. So, what's going on here? Why do women start to dislike their husbands as they get older? Let's break it down. The root of this isn't some grand mystery, it's about the slow, quiet buildup of unmet needs and unaddressed emotions. Over time, the little things that once felt small become heavy. It's not about one big fight or a single betrayal, it's about the daily moments where a woman feels unseen, unheard, or unappreciated. And when those moments stack up, they create a wall between her and the man she loves. Picture this, it's a typical Wednesday evening. You've just finished cooking dinner, the same dinner you've made 1,000 times. Your husband comes home, sits down, and eats without saying much. Maybe he mumbles a thanks before heading to the couch to watch the news. You're left cleaning up, and as you scrub the dishes, you feel a twinge of resentment. It's not about the dishes themselves, it's about the fact that he didn't notice how tired you are, didn't ask about your day, didn't offer to help. Now, multiply that moment by weeks, months, years. That's where the trouble starts. I remember talking to my friend Margaret, who's 85 now and sharp as a tack. She told me, "Honey, it's not that I stopped loving my George. It's that I got tired of feeling like I was invisible. He'd come home, expect everything to be done, and never once asked how I was holding up. I started to feel like the maid, not his wife." Margaret's words stuck with me because they capture the heart of the issue. Women don't dislike their husbands because they're bad men. They start to resent them because they feel like they're carrying the emotional and practical weight of the relationship alone. Let's dig a little deeper into why this happens. One of the biggest reasons is that, over time, couples fall into routines that prioritize function over connection. Early in a marriage, there's passion, excitement, and effort. You talk for hours, plan special dates, laugh over silly things. But as the years go by, life gets in the way. Kids, bills, careers, health issues, they all demand attention. And somewhere along the line, the little gestures that used to make you feel loved, like a sweet note, a long hug, or a meaningful conversation, get replaced by practicality. Did you pay the electric bill? Can you pick up milk? Don't forget the doctor's appointment. Sound familiar? This shift isn't anyone's fault, but it has a cost. For women, especially as we age, emotional connection is the glue that holds a relationship together. We crave feeling seen, valued, and understood. When that connection fades, we start to feel like we're just going through the motions. And here's where the practical problem comes in: many husbands don't realize this is happening. They assume that because they're providing, showing up, and not causing trouble, everything's fine. But for a woman, fine isn't enough. We want to feel cherished, not just tolerated. Another piece of this puzzle is the emotional labor women often carry. Emotional labor is all the invisible work we do to keep the relationship and the family running smoothly. It's remembering birthdays, planning holidays, noticing when someone's upset, and keeping the peace. For decades, women have been the ones to hold this space, often without anyone noticing how much energy it takes. And when a husband doesn't step up to share that load, when he doesn't check in, listen deeply, or show gratitude, it starts to feel like the relationship is one-sided. That's when resentment creeps in, not because we want to feel this way, but because we're exhausted. Let me share another story. My cousin Ruth, who's 72, went through this with her husband, Carl. Ruth was always the one who kept their family connected. She'd plan the kids' birthdays, call her in-laws, and make sure Carl's favorite meals were on the table. Carl loved her, no question, but he didn't see all the work she was doing behind the scenes. One day, Ruth snapped. She told me, "I was so tired of being the one who cared about everything. I didn't want to dislike Carl, but I was starting to. I felt like he didn't even see me anymore." That moment was a wake-up call for both of them, and it led to some changes we'll talk about later. Now, I want you to think about your own life. Have there been moments when you felt like your husband didn't notice you? Maybe it was when you were juggling a million things, and he didn't ask how you were doing. Or maybe it was when you tried to share something important, and he seemed distracted. Those moments might seem small, but they add up. And over time, they can make you feel like you're not a priority in your own marriage. That's the practical reason so many women start to dislike their husbands as they age. They feel emotionally disconnected, and no one's addressing it. But here's the good news: this doesn't have to be the end of the story. Just because you're feeling this way now doesn't mean your marriage is doomed. In fact, understanding this problem is the first step to fixing it. The truth is, most husbands don't want their wives to feel this way, they just don't always know how to bridge the gap. And as women, we can help guide them while also taking care of our own hearts. In the next part, we're going to talk about practical solutions, simple, everyday actions you and your husband can take to rebuild that connection and bring back the love you both deserve. So, let's pause here for a moment. I want you to think about one small moment in your marriage where you felt unseen or unappreciated. Hold on to that thought, because we're going to use it to build something beautiful. Now that we've uncovered the practical reason why so many women start to feel resentment toward their husbands as they age, let's talk about how to fix it. The good news is, you don't need grand gestures or a complete overhaul of your marriage to turn things around. It's about small, intentional changes that rebuild the emotional connection you both crave. These solutions come from the wisdom of women like Evelyn, Margaret, and Ruth, women who've lived through decades of marriage and learned what truly makes a relationship thrive. I'm going to share 3 practical tips that you can start using today to bring back the warmth, the love, and the closeness you deserve. First, let's talk about speaking up with kindness. One of the biggest mistakes women make is assuming their husbands should just know what's wrong. I get it, it feels like after 20, 30, or 50 years together, he should understand you inside and out. But here's the truth: men aren't mind readers, and as we age, our needs change. What made you feel loved in your 30s might not be the same in your 60s or 70s. If you're feeling unseen or unappreciated, you have to tell him, not with anger or blame, but with honesty and care. Let me give you an example. Remember Ruth, who was exhausted from carrying the emotional load for her family. One evening, instead of bottling up her frustration, she sat Carl down and said, "Honey, I love you, but I've been feeling really overwhelmed lately. I'd love it if we could share some of the planning and worrying about the family. It would mean so much to me." She didn't accuse him or make him feel small, she just opened her heart. And you know what? Carl listened. He hadn't realized how much she was carrying, and once he did, he started stepping up. He began calling their kids to check in, planning their anniversary dinner, and even asking Ruth how her day was. That one conversation shifted everything. So, here's what you can do: pick a quiet moment, no distractions, no TV in the background, and share one specific thing you're feeling. Maybe it's, "I'd love it if you'd ask me about my day, sometimes it makes me feel like you care about what's going on with me." Or, "I feel so appreciated when you help with the dishes without me asking." Keep it simple, keep it kind, and focus on how it makes you feel. This isn't about fixing him, it's about inviting him to connect with you. You'd be amazed at how a gentle conversation can open the door to change. The second tip is to rediscover small moments of connection. Over the years, it's easy to let routines take over: dinner, TV, bed, repeat. But those little moments of joy you used to share, like laughing over a bad movie or dancing in the kitchen, are what keep a marriage alive. As we get older, we sometimes forget how much these moments matter. They're not just nice-to-haves, they're the glue that holds your emotional bond together. I'll never forget something Evelyn told me after she and Tom started working on their marriage. She said, "We started taking walks together every evening, just 15 minutes around the block. No phones, no big agenda, just us talking. Sometimes we'd laugh about something silly, sometimes we'd just hold hands and enjoy the quiet. Those walks made me fall in love with him again." Those walks weren't about fixing everything, they were about creating space to be together, to feel like partners again. So, try this: find one small way to connect with your husband every day. It could be sitting together with a cup of coffee in the morning, sharing a funny story from your day, or even putting on a song you both loved when you were younger and swaying to it in the living room. These moments don't have to be perfect, they just have to be intentional. When you start weaving these little threads of connection into your day, you'll notice the resentment start to melt away. You'll start seeing him as the man you fell in love with, not just the guy who leaves dishes in the sink. The third tip is to share the emotional load. This one's a game changer, especially for women who've spent decades being the heart of the family. Emotional labor, the work of remembering, planning, and caring, can wear you down if you're doing it alone. And when you're the only one carrying that weight, it's easy to feel like your husband's not in it with you. But here's the thing: most men want to help, they just need to know how. Let me tell you about Margaret and George. After Margaret admitted she was tired of feeling invisible, she started giving George small ways to share the load. One day, she asked him to take over planning their weekly dinners. At first, George was hesitant, he wasn't used to it. But Margaret encouraged him, and soon, he was proudly coming up with meal ideas and even doing the grocery shopping. That small shift made Margaret feel like they were a team again. She told me, "It wasn't just about the meals. It was about knowing he was thinking about us, about me." That's when I stopped feeling so irritated all the time. Here's how you can start. Pick one task that feels heavy to you. Maybe it's keeping track of family events or making sure the bills are paid on time. Then, ask your husband to take it on or share it with you. Be patient, he might not do it exactly the way you would, and that's okay. The point is to feel like you're in this together. When you both carry the load, you'll feel more like partners, and that sense of teamwork can reignite the love you thought was fading. Now, let's talk about why these solutions work. They're not about changing who your husband is or turning your marriage into something it's not. They're about rebuilding the emotional safety and connection that make you feel valued. When you speak up with kindness, you're giving him a chance to understand you. When you create small moments of connection, you're reminding each other why you fell in love. And when you share the emotional load, you're building a partnership that feels fair and loving. These actions tell your husband, I see you, I value you, and I want us to be close. And when he feels that, he's more likely to respond in kind. Before we wrap up, I want to share one last story. My friend Clara, who's 80 now, told me about a moment that changed her marriage. She and her husband, Ed, had been drifting apart for years. Clara felt like Ed didn't care anymore. He'd stopped asking about her day, stopped noticing her efforts. One night, she couldn't take it anymore. Instead of staying quiet, she said, Ed, I miss us. I miss feeling like you see me. To her surprise, Ed broke down. He admitted he'd been so caught up in his own worries, health issues, retirement stress that he hadn't realized how distant he'd become. That conversation wasn't easy, but it was the start of something new. They started talking more, sharing more, and slowly, they rebuilt their bond. Clara told me, it wasn't perfect, but it was enough. I don't dislike him anymore, I love him, and I know he loves me. That's the heart of what we're talking about today. The resentment you might feel toward your husband isn't a sign that your love is gone, it's a sign that your connection needs attention. And with small, practical steps, you can bring it back. You deserve a marriage where you feel seen, heard, and cherished, no matter how many years you've been together. So, here's my challenge to you, try one of these tips this week. Maybe it's having that kind conversation, taking a walk together, or asking him to share a task. Just one small step. Then come back and let me know how it went. Drop a comment below and tell me, what's one thing you can do today to feel closer to your husband? I read every comment, and I'd love to hear your story. Your experiences inspire me and everyone watching. If this video spoke to your heart, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more insights on love, marriage, and living fully at any age. We're building a community here, and I want you to be part of it. Let's keep this conversation going. What's one moment in your marriage that made you feel truly seen? Share it below, and let's inspire each other to create the love we all deserve. I'll see you in the next one.